Mr. Speaker, sir, the Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Deputy Prime Ministers, Honourable Ministers and Assistant Ministers, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament, distinguished guests, my fellow citizens. Mr. Speaker, I wish to pay my respects to the traditional landowners of the land upon which this Parliament sits. Wakaturanga Saka, and I wano wakaturanga nandonu mai. Wera nangone turanga na roktu isuwa. I wish to thank and congratulate the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance for his budget address, and wish to comment briefly on the allocation for the Office of the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, sir, I welcome the allocation to the Office of the Attorney General, and in particular to the different entities that come under my ministerial portfolio. They have all had significant increases. The increases, though, come with increased responsibilities and deliverables. I have stressed to my staff, Mr. Speaker, that the general public expects us to work harder and to deliver more. Money to run the government does not come easily. It comes from the taxpayers of this country, to whom we are all accountable. I want, Mr. Speaker, to briefly comment on my role as the Attorney General of Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, I come to this role unhindered by membership of any political party. It allows me a degree of independence unavailable to an Attorney General who is an elected Member of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, sir, it affords me the opportunity to speak with greater candour and objectivity. I will try to use that privilege wisely and respectfully at all times. I see my role as the Attorney General to give the best legal advice to the Cabinet and the Government, consistent with the laws of Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not my role to do what is politically expedient or convenient. I view the unique role of the Attorney General as a fundamental pillar of the rule of law in this country. In its simplest formulation, the rule of law ensures that no one, including the elected government of the day or any public official, is above the law. The rule of law, Mr. Speaker, does not mean rule by law. The recent conviction of a former president in one of the most powerful countries in the world for falsifying business records is an important reminder that be you ever so high, the law is above you. It is a lesson that we in this country could well bear in mind. The rule of law, Mr. Speaker, is the foundation of our system of government. There is not one set of laws for the powerful and another for the powerless, one for the rich and one for the poor, depending on one's race or ethnicity or religion. Mr. Speaker, sir, the rule of law ensures that executive power is not exercised arbitrarily. The rule of law will promote a peaceful country and build more effective and accountable institutions at all levels. The Attorney General, as guardian of the rule of law, is tasked with upholding the public interest. It is my intention to discharge my constitutional duty apolitically. I am not a politician. First and foremost, I am a lawyer. Through the Solicitor General, my responsibility extends to broad oversight of civil litigation by or against the state. The state is supposed to be the model litigant. Mr. Speaker, put simply, it means that government lawyers must first obey the law and abide by the ethical obligations which apply to all legal practitioners. They must act fairly at all times and with complete propriety and in accordance with the highest professional standards. It is part of my duty to promote respect for the law in all government affairs. Mr. Speaker, sir, under our system of law and as a member of the Cabinet, I am collectively responsible and accountable to this Parliament. I want, Mr. Speaker, sir, to mention some matters that form part of my vision as Attorney General. First, the Code of Conduct. The requirement of a Code of Conduct for leaders, including ministers and members of Parliament, is contained in Section 149 of the Constitution. The Code of Conduct Bill 2016 was first introduced in Parliament in April 2016 and read for the first time on that date. It was later read for a second time in late April of that year, 2016. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill was referred to the Standing Committee of Justice, Law and Human Rights, and while still under review in that Standing Committee, Parliament was dissolved, in which case the bill lapsed. Mr. Speaker, sir, the government has a constitutional obligation to give effect to Section 149. Codes of conduct already exist in the public service and in many private companies. As far back as 1996, Mr. Speaker, the Reeves Commission, whose work led to the adoption of the 1997 Constitution, had recommended that the Constitution should have an integrity code, which is similar to a code of conduct. This was to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that national leaders did not use their offices for personal gain. A code of conduct forms an important part of the integrity system of government. It will encourage ethical conduct, reduce risks to the integrity of government and the Parliament as the paramount political institution, and enable it to perform its functions more effectively. This will help to enhance transparency and public accountability of our leaders, strengthening the public's trust in government. Mr. Speaker, sir, I therefore intend to seek Cabinet's approval to commence work on the drafting of legislation to implement a code of conduct with a view to its early introduction in this Parliament. Freedom of information. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Information Act was passed as far back as 2018. Regrettably, however, it has not commenced. The delay in implementing the Information Act is unfortunate. It is my intention to go to Cabinet as soon as possible and seek its support to give effect to this law. Public access to governmental-held information is important. It allows individuals to better understand the role of government and the decisions that are being made on their behalf. When our citizens are informed, Mr. Speaker, government can be held accountable for its actions and policies. Once the Act is in force, it will allow access to information to improve the lives of the people, making available to them information relating to education, health care, and other public services. The right to know, Mr. Speaker, is central for upholding other basic human rights, for promoting transparency, justice, and development. It underpins and strengthens our democracy. Mr. Speaker, sir, I intend to seek the endorsement of Cabinet to proceed with the implementation of this law as soon as practicable. On legal aid, Mr. Speaker, this year marks the 26th year of the Legal Aid Commission's establishment. The Commission plays a pivotal role in the administration of justice. It provides a range of legal services to those who would otherwise be without help. It helps to ensure equal justice, particularly for the poorest and the most vulnerable in our community. In some respects, Mr. Speaker, the Legal Aid Commission has become the victim of its own success. This has resulted in the workload of the Commission, lawyers, increasing, and this has required additional funding. But we have to recognise that there will come a time when the Commission must accept that there are limits to its continued expansion. There are budgetary constraints and demands for resources from other departments. From its original intention of dealing with family law issues and representing accused in criminal trials, it is now drafting wills and dealing with estate matters from the public. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I fully accept that access to justice should not just be for the rich and the powerful, it should be for everyone. A society that values liberty and justice for all must ensure that our citizens, especially the poorest, are able to have access to legal aid. I turn now, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, to the Human Rights and Anti-Discrimination Commission. The Human Rights Commission, Mr. Speaker, is an independent constitutional body established under the Constitution. Its job is to monitor, protect, and promote the human rights of all. The Commission opened its first ever regional office in Lautoka in March this year. And the Lautoka office, Mr. Speaker, means that people in the West and the surrounding areas are able to access its services. I understand there are plans for other regional offices around Fiji. The Commission presently has a staff of 12, and it has a complaints and awareness section with only 2 persons per team. This is not enough to handle complaints from throughout Fiji. Between 2022 and April 2024, Mr. Speaker, the complaints section received more than 800 complaints. I've already started discussions with the director of that commission, Mr. Speaker, and others to explore how the capacity and staffing of the commission might be strengthened. It is my intention in the coming months to work closely with the commission and to give it as much support as is needed to ensure that Fiji has a national human rights institution which is effective and credible. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am committed to working with the Commission so that it meets minimum international standards founded on pluralism, independence and effectiveness. I turn now, Mr. Speaker, sir, to FICAC, or the Fiji Independent Commission Against Corruption. Mr. Speaker, sir, FICAC is a constitutional body set up to receive, investigate and prosecute various crimes, including bribery and corruption. FICAC is independent in the performance of its functions and is not subject to the control or the direction of any person or authority. By law, FICAC is required to provide updates and advise the Attorney General on matters relating to its functions and responsibilities. That's as far as it goes. However, my office does not have any legal powers to tell FICAC what to do. One might ask then, so who is FICAC answerable to? Broadly speaking, Mr. Speaker, sir, FICAC is answerable to the law and to the people of this country. A functioning and effective FICAC needs strong and experienced leadership. I'm pleased to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the position of Commissioner of FICAC has recently been advertised, and it is my hope that the position can be filled as quickly as possible. There is much unfinished business before FICAC. Individuals responsible for stealing from the public purse in the recent past must be held accountable for past wrongdoing and crime. The public interest demands this. If the anecdotal evidence is to be believed, Mr. Speaker, there has been serious dipping into public funds in the past, some of it in possible breach of the law. And those responsible must face the full brunt of the law. FICAC has cases going back as far as 2014. I was told by their staff that it was hard to get confirmed dates of hearing in court. There were part-heard matters before the courts, and many FICAC cases were stuck in the long criminal lists awaiting their turn. There may be a need to restore a dedicated corruption court, and I intend to liaise closely with stakeholders in order to consider this justification for it, if any. Mr. Speaker, sir, corruption and poor governance are security challenges which undermine democracy, the rule of law, and economic development. FICAC must carry out their duties fearlessly, however difficult or inconvenient, and go where the facts and the evidence takes them. This will go some way to restoring trust in government. But FICAC, Mr. Speaker, must never again be used as a weapon to remove or punish the government's political opponents. That would be an abuse of power and unacceptable. Fiji is not a police or totalitarian state. Mr. Speaker, sir, there can be no returning to the dark days of tyranny where agents of the state were routinely sent to the homes of people who disagreed with the government. On law reform, Mr. Speaker, I have heard respectfully the comments of the Leader of the Opposition with respect to law reform. I look forward to working with the members of the government and the opposition to identify laws that need review. Law reform, Mr. Speaker, is vital to the legal system and the country. Fiji's laws must keep abreast with the changing social, economic, legal, and political developments in the country and outside it. Globalization and the rapid pace of technological innovation will require a change of mindset and possibly laws. It will affect the way we do business. Part of my speech, Mr. Speaker, sir, relates also to the Accountability and Transparency Commission. I strongly believe that the setting up of the Accountability and Transparency Commission is crucial and overdue, and I intend to make every effort to put in place the legislative measures to enable the Commission to be established. The Commission, when established, will contribute to good governance, which is reflected in Fiji's National Development Plan and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. On the judiciary, Mr. Speaker, an independent, impartial, honest, and competent judiciary is essential to upholding the rule of law, to bring about public confidence and dispensing justice. The judiciary has a vital role in upholding the rule of law, a role which is respected by this government. Government, seen broadly, is at its most effective when this respect is mirrored both ways. I do mention, Mr. Speaker, in my lengthy speech, that the courts have suffered delays in the delivery of judgments and rulings. Long delays are a sign of stress in the system and that things are not working as they should. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am a strong supporter of localization in the judiciary. However, localization must not be an end in itself, and should never come at the expense of compromising on competence, integrity, and maturity. Finally, Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, as this is my maiden speech, I just wish to conclude with some comments on nationhood. For better or worse, circumstances in history have brought together the various people who call Fiji home. It is the duty and responsibility of every citizen of this country to break down the barriers that have kept the different races in silos for far too long. It will require that we teach today's youth to be tolerant, open-minded, and concerned about each other's past and considerate of each other's heritage. Mr. Speaker, sir, 50 years after independence, our sense of nationhood remains underdeveloped. We need a renewed understanding and commitment to nationhood. We often talk about citizens' rights. However, we should also talk about citizens' responsibilities. This requires, Mr. Speaker, a commitment to realizing that we are one people with a common destiny. Our multi-ethnic fabric is a cause for celebration, and we are richer for it. Irrespective of race or religion, our diverse communities have many shared values, including a strong commitment to family, children, and the aged. With goodwill, tolerance, and understanding, we can build a stronger and more prosperous Fiji, and our country will be better for it. Mr. Speaker, sir, the future of our country lies in all our hands. It must not be hijacked by insular politicians bent on division and sowing the seeds of distrust. Despite all its trials and political upheavals, Fiji is still a beautiful country, and as the Prime Minister mentioned this morning, it is our home, it is your home, it is my home. For all its faults and frailties, Fiji remains a country full of promise and hope, underpinned by the enduring goodwill of our people that has survived the political shocks which at times have driven us close to the abyss. Achieving full nationhood, Mr. Speaker, will not be achieved overnight, but by steady incremental steps, and it will require leadership, statesmanship, and courage. Mr. Speaker, our love of Fiji is central to achieving national unity, social cohesion, and people-centered development. Nationhood in its ideal state will bring with it the promise of healing our ethnically fragmented national psyche. Our problems must be resolved through reasoned debate in an atmosphere of civility and respect. Members of this House must set the example, because our people will take their cue from our leaders. Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe as a country that our best days are ahead of us. I want to refer to a popular musician, Apakuki Nalawa, and you will excuse me, Mr. Speaker, if I speak in the vernacular. And in the lyrics of his latest song, Kuki, as he's known, sings, Isa no gubiti, o de beka na mililutaka, na nonda kalonga sa tu bolinga e linganta. Toro matua na wosa, komo na dakataka, isa koya ongori, na salakina, me bulak o witi ni mataka. In other words, he's saying, with great leadership comes great responsibilities. Who will lead us to a better Fiji? In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, it is my fervent prayer that I will approach the responsibilities that come with my office with the heart of a servant. It is my solemn pledge today that I will discharge my constitutional duties without fear or favour, malice or ill will, and that I will at all times respect the rule of law and do what is right by the people of this country. May God bless Fiji. Thank you.